I believe he's making a mistake by not lowering interest rates.
He should bring them down. We have a very incompetent Fed chairman.
U.S. Fed Chair Jerome Powell has resisted U.S. President Donald Trump's calls for lower interest rates. But that could change once he's replaced. Will the U.S. Central Bank maintain its independence? Kevin Warsh is Trump's nominee. His confirmation has drawn skepticism.
How do you make sure that the Federal Reserve stays out of the lane of external influences?
We need a Fed chair who is independent.
The president never asked me to predetermine, commit, fix, decide on any interest rate decision in any of our discussions, nor would I ever agree to do so.
This is the tension at the heart of Warsh's nomination. Politicians want influence over the economy, and central banks have the lever. Lowering the interest rate makes money cheaper to borrow, which encourages growth.
Governments tend to be short-sighted. They're up for election. They're under all kinds of pressures. And it's always tempting to try to stimulate the economy by lowering interest rates.
Kenneth Rogoff is a prominent American economist. Yet while governments may prefer lower rates that spur economic growth, the short-term boost they create has proven unsustainable. And it comes with a price. That's why the independence of the European Central Bank, for example, is particularly highly protected. German economist Marcel Fratscher explains why.
Die historische Erfahrung zeigt, dass die Unabhängigkeit von Zentralbanken das entscheidende Element dafür war, dass wir in den letzten 30, 40 Jahren Preisstabilität, zumindest in den meisten Zeiten hatten.
Keeping inflation in check is one of the central bank's most important tasks. Predictable inflation is important for maintaining purchasing power, planning investment, and generating confidence. U.S. inflation has fallen rapidly since 2022, but it's still above the U.S. Fed's target inflation of 2%, and there are signs that it is rising.
With the war in Iran and Trump's tariff war still working its way through the system, inflation's going to be well above target in the coming 12 months. Target is 2%. Inflation could easily be 3.5% or 4%. So that's a very difficult situation to cut interest rates.
The current U.S. Fed chair, Jerome Powell, is unlikely to cut rates. And the U.S. president has been clear he wants a less cautious approach. If central bank decisions were to be made with pressure from politicians, financial markets would lose confidence, says U.S. economist Rogoff.
If you try to get rid of the central bank's independence, markets say, what are you planning to do? Or are you planning to inflate, which is often the case? And they immediately drive up interest rates, which of course is the opposite of what the government wanted.
Turkey is one example. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan fired a string of central bank chiefs, pushing each time for lower rates, despite high inflation. The result? Booming inflation, a collapse of the Turkish lira, and economic instability.
Kurzfristig mag es die Versuchung geben für Politiker, die Zinsen zu manipulieren und zu senken, aus politischen Zwecken und Zielen, gerade vor Wahlen. Aber langfristig zahlt den Preis jeder, auch die Unternehmen. Deshalb Unabhängigkeit einer Zentralbank nehmen ist im Interesse von niemandem, weil langfristig alle dafür einen hohen Preis zahlen.
For Turkey, the impact has been mostly limited to the country. But that would look different if financial markets lost confidence in the central bank of the world's biggest economy.
The independence of the U.S. Federal Reserve is uniquely important in the global financial system because the dollar sits atop the global financial system. And when the U.S. becomes unstable, it affects everyone. Of course, you're seeing that already with our trade policy, with the war in Iran. But If I talk to investors, what do they really care about? Central bank independence.
The ongoing dispute between U.S. President Trump and the U.S. Fed Chair Powell is more than a power struggle. It's about confidence, stable prices, and the very stability of the global economy. Just how well the next Fed chief can withstand the political pressure will soon become clear. Jerome Powell's term ends in mid-May.